Climbing up the list of the world's richest people is no child's play. It even becomes more difficult, especially if you have to pass on the family wealth from one generation to the next. But what if we told you that there is a family in Europe that has successfully preserved their family wealth for more than 200 years? Yes, we're talking about none other than the Rothschild family. The Rothschild family is an influential banking dynasty that rose to prominence in Europe in the early 19th century. This family profited from wars and has accumulated an untold amount of wealth over the past 200 years. It is rumored that the net worth of the Rothschild family is $2 trillion. However, the true wealth of the Rothschilds is shrouded in secrecy, leading to various conspiracy theories. It is said that the Rothschilds would do anything to keep the wealth in the family. They have been accused of secretly controlling the world's economy by exerting their influence on regional and national events, so much so that the Rothschild family name has become synonymous with greed. But are these conspiracy theories fact or fiction? How much power does the Rothschild family truly have? You're going to find out the answers in this video. This is the story of the family who secretly runs the world. Looking at the level of power and influence the Rothschilds wield today, it's hard to imagine where they came from. Our story begins with the birth of Meyer Amschel Rothschild in a Jewish ghetto called Judengasse in 1744. Judengasse was a terrible place to live, to say the least. Thousands of Jews were forced to cram themselves in tiny living spaces where living conditions were horrendous. Meyer Amschel reportedly lived in a house with about 30 other family members. But despite these terrible conditions, his father, Amschel Moses Rothschild, worked hard to feed his family. He was a currency exchanger and a supplier of rare coins. This was one of the few jobs the Jews could do, as they were not permitted to own land, neither were they allowed to farm nor engage in unrestricted trade. Unfortunately for Meyer Amschel, he lost his parents when he was just 12 years old and was forced to learn how to take care of himself from an early age. So in 1757, he abandoned his studies and took on an apprentice role in a banking firm in Hanover. Meyer Amschel was an intelligent kid who quickly learned the ropes of foreign trade and currency exchange in Hanover. After 6 years of learning, he returned to Frankfurt to continue on the path of his father as a currency exchanger in 1763. In addition, Meyer Amschel became a dealer of rare coins and metals, a line of business in which clients were invariably nobility collectors. He put his expertise to good use and soon became the personal supplier of rare coins to Prince Wilhelm of Hesse. Then, in 1769, he gained the title of court factor, an honorary title given to a Jew who handled the finances of royalty and nobility. He married Gutel Schnapper the following year, and the couple gave birth to 10 children, 5 boys and 5 girls. Meanwhile, as his influence continued to expand among the nobility, Meyer Amschel started banking activities by giving out credit to some of his customers. However, his first big break came during the French Revolution, when he handled payments from Britain for the hiring of Hessian mercenary soldiers. His wealth began to grow significantly from this point, and he became one of the richest Jews in Frankfurt by the close of the 18th century. Around the same time, Meyer Amschel began to send his sons to live in various European financial centers to expand the family business. He sent them to London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, and Frankfurt. Nathan Meyer Rothschild moved to London in 1798 and set up a textile business. He gradually expanded his business dealings to finance and later stock trading while still acting in his father's interest. Then, in 1811, he set up N.M. Rothschild, which laid the model for his brothers to follow. However, the early fortunes of the Rothschild family were made during the Napoleonic Wars in the 19th century. In 1806, Napoleon invaded Hesse in response to Wilhelm IX's support for Prussia. Wilhelm was forced into exile in the Duchy of Holstein, but he entrusted much of his vast fortune to Meyer Amschel for safekeeping. Wilhelm IX inherited a vast amount of fortune from his father, so we're talking about a lot of money here. While Wilhelm was away in exile, Meyer Amschel thought of a better way to use the money, so he turned to his son Nathan in London. Nathan invested £550,000 of Wilhelm IX's funds in British government securities and bullion. Remember, this was in the early 19th century, so £550,000 was a great deal of money. The Rothschild family also made money by smuggling goods across Europe in breach of Napoleon's continental trade blockade. They got a lucrative deal to supply the Austrian army with several items, including wheat, uniforms, horses, and even cash to pay their soldiers. Of course, they also handled payments for the hiring of Hessian mercenary soldiers. So, while Europe was basically tearing apart, it was good business for the Rothschild family. With Wilhelm's fortune at their disposal, they continued to fund the British and its allies in their effort against Napoleon. As a result of these dealings, the Rothschild family amassed an unprecedented fortune, and in 1810, Meyer Amschel renamed his firm M.A. Rothschild & Son, establishing a partnership with his sons. Sadly, Meyer Amschel passed away 2 years later in 1812. However, he had already laid a foundation for his children to expand the family business across Europe. Today, he is known as the founding father of international finance. After the death of Meyer Amschel, the Rothschild brothers made it their mission to continue his legacy. The first son, Meyer Amschel Jr., took over the family business in Frankfurt. Nathan remained in London, while the other brothers, Solomon, Karl, and James, established a branch in Vienna, Naples, and Paris, respectively. But despite working in different locations, the Rothschild brothers acted as a unit. They created an intricate global network of agents and contacts that gave them access to the most important business and political information. Together, the brothers became a formidable force in Europe and formed close relations with the ruling families in the countries where they were established. Meanwhile, they continued to finance the British and its allies against Napoleon. However, there are allegations that the brothers funded both sides of the war. That is, while Nathan was almost single-handedly financing the British war effort, his brother James was allegedly funding Napoleon's army. Of course, there are no credible sources for this claim, but without doubt, the activities of the Rothschild brothers during the Napoleonic Wars brought them to a position of immense power and influence in Europe and across the world in the 19th century. It is said that Nathan received the news of the defeat of Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo a full day before the government. Many people also claim that he used this information to make a vast fortune by unfair advantage against other British stockholders. Notwithstanding, the Napoleonic Wars brought the brothers to a position of power in their respective cities. Following the war, the brothers had so much money that they also started giving out loans to nations. For example, James provided loans to the French government to help stabilize the finances of the country. His brother Nathan gave out a £5 million loan to the Prussian government in 1818 and supplied enough coins to the Bank of England in 1825 to prevent a financial crisis. In other words, they were basically performing a role similar to what the International Monetary Fund does today. The Rothschild brothers positioned the family for the Industrial Revolution. Over the next few years, the brothers invested money they made from the war into railroads, mining, and real estate to solidify the Rothschild family as a major power in Europe. They also secured the rights to mercury mines in Spain, gaining a monopoly on the chemical element that is critical to refining gold and silver. The next generation of the Rothschilds built on the foundations of the five brothers and established the Rothschild banking empire in Europe. Throughout the rest of the 19th century, they continued to establish their dominance by helping the British government buy a controlling stake in the Suez Canal. They also funded Cecil Rhodes and the creation of the African colony of Rhodesia and brought up large holdings in mining giant Rio Tinto and South African diamond miner De Beers. By the end of the 19th century, the Rothschild business empire had become so large that it exerted influence on regional and national events. Members of the Rothschild family held seats in Parliament and the House of Lords and became barons in London. On top of this, they possessed the largest private fortune in the world at the time. Today, the interests of the Rothschild family cover a diverse range of fields, including financial services, real estate, mining, energy, agriculture, and winemaking. But unlike most families that lose their wealth within 3 generations, the Rothschild family dynasty continues to flourish to this day. The N.M. Rothschild, set up in 1811 by Nathan Rothschild, now Rothschild & Co., remains one of the world's largest independent financial groups. The core business of the group is today in the hands of the 7th generation of Rothschilds. Jacob Rothschild is the unofficial head of the Rothschilds, who has been a subject of internet memes. Other prominent Rothschilds alive include Baron David Rene James de Rothschild, Alexander de Rothschild, and Anthony James de Rothschild. However, most of the Rothschild family are shy of the media, and only little is known about their lifestyle or net worth. A popular English journalist and historian had the following to say about them. The Rothschilds are elusive. There is no book about them that is both revealing and accurate. Libraries of nonsense have been written about them. But the claim that the Rothschild family owns about 80% of the world's total wealth is grossly exaggerated. Of course, the Rothschild family still wields significant power and money today, but it has become distributed between the various branches of descendants. The early success of the Rothschild banking dynasty still remains a subject of controversy today. Their involvement in various war activities leaves a lot of questions unanswered. What do you think about the Rothschild family? Do you think they secretly control the world? Let us know your answer in the comments below. In the coming weeks, we'll come up with more stories of what, why, how topics. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more like it, consider subscribing to our channel and hit that notification bell to stay up to date.